Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu mama angani Vakpranaschakshuh Shrotramatho Balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaha Te Mai Santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let's just chant the fourth verse of the second chapter. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate mritam. So the line of inquiry, the line of insight, which was highlighted in the third verse of the first chapter, no, I'm sorry, fourth verse of the first chapter. Anyadev tad viditat atho aviditat adhi iti shushruma purvesham ye naha tas tat naha tad vyacha chakshire. So the essence of that verse number 4, which opened up this whole inquiry into the method of knowing ourselves fully, which was summarized in which we will complete the summarization in the fourth verse of the second chapter. It was that you say that our issues in life is because of a incomplete and inaccurate inventorying of where I am. I'm missing some pieces, and as a result of that, I get into problems in life. And so this is what you're saying, is that you need to have a complete inventorying. If you were to say exactly what I consist of, what are the portions that I have, it better be complete. And if it is complete and accurate, you're free. The last portion makes you free. But I don't understand how that is. And how do I know this? So there, to the answer to the question was the line of inquiry and the line of insight, which said, listen, there's a piece that you're missing. And the piece that you're missing is different than what is known to you, visible to you, one which is familiar to you. Anyadeva tad viditat. Viditat. So viditat, vidita means one which is known. Yeah, that's the name of Swami Vidita Atmananda. Swami Vidita Atmananda is a good name, beautiful name. Swami Dayananji was very particular in giving names to his students. They all meant something. So, if you look at his name, it says, one whose Ananda comes from knowing. Vidita Atma Yasya, or Vidita Atma Yaha, the one to whom the Atma is known. Vidita Atmananda. That's his name. So here the Vidita means something which is directly known. But we do not know Atma directly. It has to be known indirectly because it doesn't lend itself for something that I can objectify, as we all know by now. So he says, Anya Deva Tat Viditat. It is different from what is known. That means it is not known. It must be unknown, always for unknown. No. It is different from the always unknown. Different from the known and different from the unknown. Hey, so if it's different from both of them, what is left? The whole Srishti divides into known and unknown. You can be on one or the other. You cannot have a third category. Yes, there is a third category. And that category is the way to understand the Atma. And to further underscore this, the second line of the verse number 4 was given. Iti shushruma purvesham yenah tad vyata chakshye. He says this is how the sampradaya is. Sampradaya means samyak pradati iti samyak sampradaya, one which is very well explained. It's not as though this unknown Atma has been confused by a number of years, a number of eons and people. No, very clearly known, but it is not known through the way we think it is, which is viditat anyaha, aviditat anyaha. So aviditat adhi here means anyaha, different from the known, different from the unknown. Then this is the way it is done. So now the student says, really, okay, I have Shraddha that this is how this is communicated from Guru to Shishya to Guru to Shishya to Guru to Shishya. Can you explain how this is done for me? And so the rest of it was done. And he says, can you please now, because I need to understand as clearly as all my Purva Acharyas have done. So the answer to that, after some hiccups and so on and so forth, is given in the last verse that we did, which kind of completes the central insight of Kena Upanishad. Really speaking, this verse, Pratibodha Viditam Matam Amritatvam Hi Vindate Atmana Vindate Viryam Vidyaya Vindate Mritam. Amritam. Here, Amritam. The is silent, so it's avagraha. So it says Mritam just for meter purposes, but it means Vidyaya Vindate Amritam. So he says, okay, you asked me how our acharyas from starting with Ishvara himself and with Vyasacharya, Gaudapadacharya, and all the acharyas, Sri Shankaracharya, and all the other acharyas, how do they communicate? What is that communication? Please explain that to. So he says, okay, are you listening? Pratibodha viditam matam. He says, the way to understand is pratibodha viditam matam. It is known as present in all thoughts. The one which is invariably present in all thoughts, unchanging element of all thoughts, all cognitions, is matam. Here means this is the way to do it. You know, all the ones, how did our Purva Acharya, this is the Sampradaya really. This is the Sampradaya. So it's interesting, I was just thinking about this word Sampradaya, which you should understand very clearly in our communication. So the Sampradaya means how it is taught. Really is Samyak Pradati iti Sampradaya. How it is done. So different people have different methodology. For example, one of the most popular one in India, which is a mistake, but anyway, nevertheless, is, as you know very well, even our thoughts go in that direction. Theory and experience. Knowledge and experience. So this would be clearly, this is a good opportunity for us to revise this definition of Sampradaya. So there are so many different ways that people examine this whole concept of Atma, Anatma, Ishvara, Jagat, Jiva, all of that. And one of the most popular ones, even amongst Hinduism, even amongst the Vedic thought, leave aside the non-Vedic thought, is knowledge which then has to be translated into experience. Very common in our own life where we say, you know, I have the knowledge. I've been studying Vedanta. I know this is Atma, this is Chatushtaya Sampatti, this, that or the other. I've done a lot of books. Many of you have told me this over the years, that, you know, we have done so many Upanishads. We have done Kena Upanishad, we have done Kathopanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, and Purusha Suktam, you know, and Rudram. Some of you have been with me for a long time, so you yourself tell me, I've done all this, but I don't know. Nothing seems to really click. And so I said, so I can tell you now, okay, so what do you want to do? He says, I just want to now have the experience. I remember I think I told you this, my dad also used to say the same thing. He was everybody subscribed to the same thing. That first you do the knowledge, when you do knowledge, and then you experience. It's kind of, Swami Dayanand used to say, it's kind of like learning to cook. So first you learn the recipe. These days now, of course, at YouTube, you get any number of recipes. If you want to make coconut chutney recipe coming up, just say coconut chutney. If you want to make sambar, absolutely. Yep. Supposing you want to do kali dal, maa ki dal, which is very popular amongst Punjabis. Sure, there's all of that. Not only that, but there are recipes for all the various gadgets that you have, this, that, or the other. But by just learning recipes, you don't taste good food. You have to now experience. Now you have to experiment. You have to really put it into practice and so on. So similarly, they say Vedanta is like that. We agree that you are learning a lot. You've got this Upanishad, that Upanishad. But where is your experience? And when they say that, you also agree with it. You says, you're right. You're right. I don't feel free yet. So they both agree, the person who doesn't understand Vedanta and a person who understands Vedanta to a certain degree, they both agree, yes, we need to have a lot of experience. This is not our sampradaya. Please be very clear about this. This experience business, we need to clearly understand, is the wrong direction. It won't lead to any, it is kind of like for a while, looks like there is a, you go through this maze and you're stuck in one place. So you thought, oh, I think this looks like the way to go. You go there and you spend a lot of time and then nothing. It's a dead end. So we say, please do not even go in that direction. It is not a question of knowledge and experience. If not, then what is the sampradaya? Okay, all right, I accept it. I have shraddha in what you're saying. But at least tell me what is it that you are saying? So this is the sampradaya of the fundamental Vedika thinking. Starting with Ishvara, no changes to it, no modifications, not Vishishta Advaita, not different kind of Advaita, not Dvaita, nothing but pure Advaita. This is the central sampradaya of Bhagavad Gita, of all the Upanishads. This is what is called Sutra, the Brahma Sutra. Tattu samanvayat. So here, in fact, even in Bhagavad Gita, it says, Sarvaihi Vedaihi Ahameva Vedyaha. Beautiful. Exactly the same as Tattu Samanvayat. I forget the chapter where it says, Sri Krishna says, the entire Vedas really have a single Tatparya. Anyway, what is that sampradaya, you tell me? The sampradaya is, you are right. First, you learn the basics, Shravanam. Then, after that, you don't have to do anything. There is nothing to be done. There is no experience that you need to have. It's not like you learn the recipe and then you have to put it into practice. It isn't like that. Okay, right, then what is it? You have to remove the doubts of the jnana. Because the jnanam is just the beginning, full of doubts. I gave you that example that a person is coming from a distance and you have absolutely no knowledge. It looks like, in a large distance there is all these wavy disturbances. It looks like there is something happening there, but then you don't even know what is it, a bird or an animal or what? And pretty soon that disturbance becomes more stable and it begins to shape up as something that you can see, and then you can say, yes, this is a human being. But that's all. You have not been able to identify it. Your knowledge that it is a human being is surrounded by doubts. Yeah, that is exactly what the study of Vedanta is. Your understanding of yourself is, yes, it is basically you are already free. No, the freedom is not something which is imported. It is already to be unfolded. This much you know, and you also accept it. In fact, in our parlance, we call this person a jnani. So if you look at the technical aspect of it, the word jnani, one which means a Shotriya, one who has really studied all of this, Kenopanishad, Kathopanishad. So you guys are jnanis for those that have done so. But it is exactly like now you have ascertained that there is a person coming, but you don't know who that person is. So that means that the jnanam, the knowledge, is accompanied with a lot of doubts, chanchalta, with me, a lot of movement. And you're not able to quickly ascertain what it is. And you need to really do all the things, improve your vision, improve and so on, until you become clear about who the person is. And in this case, that person is really nothing but myself. So Maheswaranji had given a beautiful example. He said, sometimes supposing you are some lady is taking a bath, and she's got a very beautiful wedding ring that is very precious to her. And so sometimes she takes it off when taking a shower or a bath. And supposing it goes into supposing it's a tub bath, just the different examples can be given. And the ring falls down into the tub bath, into the tub. And the tub is, there's water flowing, it's very disturbed, and it's got soap all over the place. And as the ring drops at the bottom, it becomes invisible. So you can't see it. Now, in a way, this is very similar to that credit card example. So, this lady who accidentally drops this ring, heavy gold ring, into the bottom of the tub, knows that it is there because the water is not, the drain pipe is not open. If the drain pipe is open, then you have more of a problem because it might go into the drain. There are V junctions and it gets stuck there. So not all is lost. But let's suppose that there's no drain pipe open and it's a running water and she's having a good bath with soap and all the detergent and so on and so forth. But the ring has now fallen down. It's invisible. So what needs to be done is what? Very simple. You first of all turn off any shower that is still filling up the tub, so there's no disturbance. And then what you do is you wait for all the foam from the soap to become dissolved. You can actually put your hand in there and so on and so forth. And as soon as the water becomes clear, you see the ring very clearly. So there was no real fear of losing the ring, just like there is no fear of losing the credit card because I already know it's around. But I still haven't found it. I still have to do some minor things. So similarly, this lady also does some minor things. She doesn't get on the phone and says, "Oh my God, I lost my ring. I need help. Is there a plumber?" No. It's in the tub. But I haven't found it yet. You can just close your eyes and look at it and say, no, I still haven't found it. The best way is to directly see it without any doubts. Sakshat Karanam. So now we close the book on the Sampradaya. I told you because we were saying this is not the Sampradaya of knowledge and experience. So what is it? The Sampradaya is keep examining, keep inquiring with Shraddha until all the doubts are resolved. This is the Sampradaya. There is nothing to be done. There is something to be known repeatedly. You cannot say, now I am going to do, I'm going to start doing meditation because I can't really understand Vedanta. So I got to close my eyes. Some of it is really good. As we were, I think I'll do some meditation today itself, I was thinking. So I think we might do that. So the meditation here is also re-examination. You're not going to move your hands and do something and cook and put the fire on. There's no experience per se. So this is what our Sampradaya is. So Sampradaya means the mananam, doing mananam. And there are methods of doing mananam. You have to be gentle with your mind. You cannot force it, but persistent. There is nothing to be done. There is no experience. There is nothing. Not like learning to cook, but there is learning to think. So thinking alone allows the clarity. And when clarity comes and you are able to see yourself very clearly in your own guhayam, in the guha of your mind, the cave of your mind, the darkness of your mind, you are able to light it up. There's so many beautiful analogies of all this. We'll have to wait for some other time. It becomes very clear. So in some ways, so there are several ways of looking at it, but one way of looking at it is what we did last week. And you remember what that is. So let me revise it so that it becomes firm, because I find revision is just beautiful. Just absolutely wonderful sometimes. And that revision was that your worldly experiences are hiding you from yourself. Why? How is it hiding? Because you're busy with things. You're busy with things. I have to go to work. And there's emails and there's cell phone messages and you haven't done that. Oh, oops, you're right. I got to do that. And then after that, you'll say, well, you haven't had breakfast yet. I better have breakfast because I'm getting late. I have to catch a train. Thing after thing, the whole life passes. And then you come back from the office and you're tired. You just want to have a cup of tea. And then is the dinner ready? Who's making it? Should I reheat? Then, you watch a little bit of television, America's Talent or whatever it is, all these interesting shows. And then it's time to go to sleep. Where is the time to really examine? Examine what? To examine each of these experiences are possible due to what? Is it possible without me, the consciousness, the invariable consciousness? And there are so many impediments. One of the impediments is, so what? One of the students, I won't name him, but recently wrote to me an interesting email. And this is how I find that people have doubts and so on and so forth. He said, I don't understand what pratibodhitam viditam can do for me. He just wrote to me just last week. We were having a dialogue and so on. He says, so it just means that it reminds me that I am there, I'm there, I'm there. So what? How long can I keep on doing it? And I can understand his frustration, but he misses the point completely. Swami Maheshananji, in his, in fact, you know what? I'm going to read the section where he tackles this, and I'll read some Hindi from it. So anyway, to give you this background, so one of them, so even before I go there, let me finish the first. I told you that there are a couple of ways of looking at pratibodhitam vidam, pratibodham viditam matam. One is that the same experiential life that you have hides your reality. And if you are a wise person, the same things becomes an aid to understand the myself. I gave you the example last week where there's a knife in the hands of a child can be harmful. And for us, our experiential life, experiences of life, seeing, watching, worrying, going to sleep, waking up again, one life after another, all these experiences are harmful to me. How are they harmful to me? One can understand. What are you saying? How can you be saying it's harmful? It's very harmful. Because I am dying continuously, but not recognizing my immortality. My mortality is inexcusable. Where the Vedantic wisdom is that what you consider to be death is not death. What you consider to be is just a falling of the sthula sharira, your body. It cannot function until it's 200 years old. It's supposed to last for 100 years and it doesn't because of our misuse. And after a while, the heart is only meant for 100 years. It cannot, if it's 110, it's a miracle. So that's not the death of the human being. In fact, it feels like I have a one-time death in my life. This is a wrong thing too. It's not even one time. Then what is it? It is million times. Every second I'm dying. How? Because I don't recognize my immortality. Every second I say, I'm mortal, I'm mortal. You don't say that, but your expressions and your experiences of life is that I'm highly mortal. Mortal, 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 mortal. Dying, dying, dying. This is the real death. Don't take my word for it. This is what Vedantic Acharyas say. I have read this over and over again. So this is the so what really is hiding me and what is killing me, through which I am dying continuously, is the same thing which I can now turn around and it becomes my friend. Just like a knife in the hands of a wise person becomes a very useful instrument. So this is what is meant by pratibodha viditam matam. That if I learn how to do reflection and mananam, and I learn to see that all my experiences, in all my experiences, there is one which makes the experience possible, sustains it without ever changing itself. Just like the gold in a golden ornament. It makes the ornament glow, it sustains the ornament, but by itself it never changes. That is me. So the example given by Swami Maheshananji was that the same dharti means the earth, that makes me fall down is the one that makes me pick up again. All I have to do is to utilize it properly. Okay, so this is one way of looking at the word of the sentence pratibodha viditam matam. The other way is now what Swami Maheshananji, in explaining Swami Vidyaranya's explanation in Anubhuti Prakasha, is giving. So this is another way of looking at it. Okay, so I'm going to read this in Hindi, the whole paragraph. For those of you that know Hindi, can appreciate his words and so on, then I will translate that in English. Okay. Pratibodha arthat samajh. Samajh means understanding. लोक में भी जानकारी और समझ में अंतर होता है. So he says, so I'll just translate it every sentence as I go. So he says, Pratibodha arthat samajh means, Pratibodha means. So here, see the difference now. Because in one way of looking at it, which is what Adi Shankara had given both in the Padabhashya as well as Vakya Bhashya. He had said Pratibodha means in each thought. Just like in English also we say from time to time. We say from time to time. So we repeat the word time twice. We repeat it once. Time to time. Similarly here we says bodha, 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 pratibodha, in all thoughts, in all cognitions. Cognitions means thoughts. In all cognitions which is there is the way to understand what you are asking from me, my student. Is this viditat adhi, adviditat anya. What is there? It is neither known, it is not like it is known in one thought, neither unknown in any thought, it is there in all thoughts. Okay, so this is one thing. So this is one way to look at it. And the other way to look at it addresses this confusion in the form of this question, this email from this student, which said, I don't understand what does it do for me. So I'm always remembering me. So what? It doesn't really do anything for me. That point is addressed in this second interpretation by Swami Maheshananda, which I will now read. So he says, Pratibodha arthat samajh. Samajh means an understanding, clarity. Then he goes in to explain this. He says, Lok may be, even in the world, जानकारी और समझ में अंतर होता है. If you examine in the world, there is a difference between जानकारी and samajh. So Jankari means gathering up information. Between the quantity of information and wisdom, samaj means understanding wisdom. There is a difference. That's what he's saying. There's a difference between them. We should be careful about that. I have already communicated in the Kaivalya Upanishad and here also. I say that because simply academic understanding of Upanishads doesn't mean anything. Not useful at all. It is useful a little bit. You can make some claims and feel good about it. People say, "Wow, you're studying Vedanta. That's wonderful. That's good. It's a very difficult subject. How did you do that?" So they have some respect for you. What does that do to you? Somebody has a respect for you. Maybe in some kind of a teacup party, everybody looks up to you. So you have maybe moments of feeling good. That's it. What does that do? So just gathering up information, academic information, this is what Jankari is. So I think that the problem with the student saying, what does that do for me, is that he looks upon it as simply as nuggets of information. This is a very big thing, by the way, what I'm just talking about. This is almost like the central sampradaya of Vedanta. Now we'll talk about this in more detail. I cannot just compress everything here. But that is the point. Anyway, let me go on. So he says, लोक में भी जानकारी और समझ में अंतर होता है. जिसे बहुत सी जानकारी हो, वो आवश्यक नहीं कि समझदार हो. He says that people that seem to know a lot, it doesn't mean that they have acquired wisdom. और समझदार को भी ज़्यादा जानकारी होती हो, यह भी ज़रूरी नहीं. And he says the reverse is also true. The one that has wisdom doesn't mean that he knows a lot. Not necessary. Because you can really get an insight into it and say, oh yes, wow. Then you can tell him, but there's more to be studied. He says, I know there's more to be studied, but I think I got it. So yes, this is the difference between knowledge and wisdom, in a way. वस्तु स्थिति को समग्रता से पहचानना समझ है, जिसमें इंद्रियादि प्रमाणों का उपयोग तो है, लेकिन उनसे सीमित रहने का बंधन नहीं है. Beautiful. I'll repeat this in Hindi one more time. Forgive me for those of you that don't understand Hindi, but I'll translate it. वस्तु स्थिति को समग्रता से पहचानना समझ है, जिसमें इंद्रियादि प्रमाणों का उपयोग तो है, लेकिन उनमें सीमित रहने का बंधन नहीं है. Then let me go on and then I will summarize it. परमेश्वर भी शास्त्र प्रमाण से ही पता लगता है, लेकिन उसकी समझ केवल शास्त्र से ही नहीं, साधन संपत्ति पूर्वक श्रवणादि के निरंतर अभ्यास से ही प्राप्त ईश कृपा से मिलती है. This is the central thing. So I'll summarize both the sentences. So he says, that the wise can see that in any experience there is the presence of the sense organs and the organs of action. There is a participation of that. But it doesn't limit his understanding of himself or herself. लेकिन उसकी समझ केवल सॉरी, लेकिन उससे सीमित रहने का बंधन नहीं है. It is not as though you are defining yourself. I mean, this is all a very detailed version of the very simple thing that we have talked about. That if you have identification with the room space, then you are smothered by the room space. You are enclosed by it. You are vulnerable. You're worried. But if you were to understand through mananam and shravanam that there is only one space, and the one that I am taking myself to be, which is an enclosed space, is just a viewpoint. I am fundamentally free. So the walls are not enclosing me. So this is exactly what he's saying here. उनसे सीमित रहने का बंधन नहीं है. You see the various sense organs or the organs of action, including your mind, all the 11 indriyas, 5 indriyas of knowing, 5 indriyas of doing, and manaha. 11. Yes, they are upadhi, all right, but they are not limiting me. This should be your experience. And this is the wisdom. And then he adds, this is a very important step to be understood. And I think after this I will fulfill my promise to do meditation and not do any more teaching. He says, so this is the thing that we need to now ascertain. परमेश्वर भी शास्त्र प्रमाण से पता लगता है, लेकिन उसकी समझ केवल शास्त्र से नहीं, साधन संपत्ति पूर्वक श्रवण आदि के निरंतर अभ्यास से ही प्राप्त ईश कृपा ही से मिलती है. So he says that yes, an introduction to Parameshwara as your own self no doubt is obtained through Shastra. Shastra means Vedanta teaching and so on. No doubt about it. It is all given through that. But really speaking, until you have the Ishvara Kripa, Anugraha, Ishvara Anugraha, which means that the blessing of Ishvara, until you have the blessing of God. How does one get the of blessing of God? This is not arbitrary, that God says, okay, I like that person, done. I don't like that person. So you struggle on for quite a while. He says that the same Shravanam, when done through repeatedly with understanding and with removal of your ahankara, asking for help from Ishvara and saying, I can't do it. It's just like the student said, all I see is that I have to remember myself. What does that do to me? Can you please give me a clear idea of the I which is unchanging? And I want to really know this. And to without any doubts, I need your help. If you keep on doing this with an extended period of time, then the Ishvara Anugraha comes. And he says that is the wisdom. So you yourself convert your information into wisdom. You don't do anything, but with persistence you convert, you transform what is academic to something which is your own personal experience. is what needs to be done. So he takes that pratibodha, and he must have done this from, I didn't read all of the shlokas of Swami Vidyaranya, but I can tell you Swami Maheshananda and Swami Vidyaranya are joined at the hip. They don't do different interpretations. So this is the thought of Swami Vidyaranya, and that is pratibodha. So he takes a slightly different view of the pratibodha, which is, it is more than information, it is understanding. So with that, 8:50. Yeah, let's do a meditation, short meditation, not a very short, but 20-25 minutes, and perhaps goes a little bit longer. I sometimes lose track of time. I will sneak in the time as I'm doing it so that you're not kept up so much. But as promised, let us do a meditation. And so I'm just going to turn off, I think, a couple of these lights so that they don't shine in my eyes. This one, the big one on the top. I'll be right back. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sriman Mahadevaya Namaha. O Ishvara, O Shiva, I am meditating on your Mahima, I strive to see your Mahima. Mahima means your grandeur, the enormous power, your amazing capability. Through meditation, may I please learn to admire your incredible nature. May I begin to see your Mahima. If I examine your nature, O Shiva, O Parameshwara, I begin to appreciate your invariable presence. If I think of anything like a chair, that thought requires you to be present. I see a chair only through the chair thought. The cognition of the thing called chair is indeed made possible by you alone. I am not capable of generating this consciousness. I, the human being, is borrowing that from you, O Ishvara. It is indeed your Swarupa that powers the cognition of a chair. And I find that consciousness which is responsible for the chair cognition itself undergoes no change. It is never used up. It is not tired. It remains fresh. Ready for all and any experiences, good or bad. Whether there is a chair or a table or a light or darkness, clouds, does not matter. O Ishvara, like a child, I have been experiencing my life without understanding your presence. I'm fully engaged in seeing tables and chairs, now enable me, teach me to recognize your invariable presence in my experiences. This is your Mahima. This is your grandeur. You make things happen without happening yourself. This is the truth about myself. Please teach me to not avoid experiences, because my life's experiences were ordained by you. I have no problem with it. I don't wish to force any experiences. Let them be. But can I ask for your help in recognizing your Mahima, the role that you play in all of my experiences? May I see that your greatest gift to me is my invariable presence. May I understand my immortality through your grace and blessing. It is your immortality, in fact. Your unchangingness, your presence, your independence. May I understand to be my independence. I am. I am not any one thing. I am in all things. No matter what my state is, I always am. Now, 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 now. Silence, silence. Self-existing. Because I am the very nature of existence. I am not the isness of a chair. I am not chair ignorance, chair existence, table existence. I am existence which is borrowed by the table thought, the chair thought. It is borrowed by all thoughts. I am not a thought. I am the very nature of invariable existence. I am not the nature of a specific thought, pratibodha, bodha, 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 thought, thought, thought. I am the very nature of knowledge. I am, and I know. I know is not my quality. It is my very nature. I am. I know. And there is no boundary. The prana has a boundary. The body has a boundary. The thoughts have a boundary. But I am without any boundary. Anantam. Antarahitam. I just am. Beginningless. O Ishvara, this is your Mahima. What an amazing capability. I am that capability. May I please understand the grandeur, the Mahima of myself. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Leave the upper light on, off for a while, light close up. So with that, we complete the Vedantic insight, which started with Praptasya Praptihi. And we saw that the Praptasya Praptihi has really three stages to it. One is complete ignorance, one is partial knowledge and minor ignorance, and then full knowledge and no ignorance. This is how it happens. And so the Kena Upanishad helps us in providing clarity towards these experiences of our life, that until we begin to become wise and understanding, my own presence in invariable presence in everything in with me then instead of taking myself to be immortal, continuously dying, as though continuously changing, definitely. The word dying may be pretty severe, but continuously changing, which is really dying. Change is death. You give up your previous one, you acquire a new one. So giving up the old one is defined to be death. Even though we talk about death as being the death of the body and so on. But anyway, so we transition from. So this is what happens, that before I have no capability of viewing myself in any other way. But then with the help of the Shastra, it educates me, saying, my dear, don't you see that your experiences are never possible without you, the unchanging yourself? Don't you see it? And my answer to that is, I kind of see it, I kind of don't. And Shastra says, good, you're on the right track. Absolutely. At least you see it partially. Yes, I see it partially. So this is exactly what is meant by saying that, don't you see that you used your credit card last night? Then I say, yes, I know. Okay, that's it. But then if you cry like a child, but I still haven't seen it, hey, you'll see it. What's the big deal? You've already put some boundaries around it. At least you don't have to report it stolen. That's a big thing. If you have not done so, my gosh, it's a huge problem. You have to get brand new, you have all these automatic credit card things for buying from Amazon, this or the other. You just automatically do. All of that has to be changed. So anyway, it's no big deal. So you haven't found it, it's around here. The Shastra says that this middle point is there. But keep looking, you'll find it. And the reason you're not finding it is you have an old habit that refuses to go away. It's very obvious, but you make it not so obvious. And if you persist with it with the right attitude, it will become obvious. Nothing has changed. You have always been free, but now this curtain of darkness that you have will open up, and you will be free. So this is how the teaching goes. This is the stages of praptasya praptihi. And I think that spending so much time on doing that and so on, hopefully was helpful to you. And so with that having concluded, what we might do is the third chapter is a very interesting story that accentuates this fact. Because we get some support and backing to the fact that I'm not a complete fool. This is exactly what everybody does. Even devas also do the same thing. So you're on the right path. Just stick with it. This is the story. So we might as well spend some time in just going in through this third chapter story. And because it's a story, I'll do it rather quickly and then draw some conclusion from it. My guess would be maybe a couple of classes, perhaps. I think that should do it. So then we're done with the Kena Upanishad and we will look for some next text. Okay, with that. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Alright, let's see. If you have any questions? So Virendra Singh, that's the same question that you had before. Pratibodha Viditam Manam. Is it that I have to remind myself again and again? That's the same question that you asked before, and I think I answered that, or at least I addressed it, that it's you have to remind yourself until you understand. So it's just like, when a room space is told that you're really the space. In the beginning, it might have some problems in saying, really, I'm the total space? How? I have to just meditate on the fact that I'm the total space, total space, total space. But once it becomes clear that I am the total space, you enjoy your seeming mortality as a room space. You're okay with it. So this is what a Jivan Mukta is, that just having a body and mind is not really an enclosure. You're much more than that, because in your understanding, you've gone beyond it. So that's what one has to do. Okay. And then I think I'll just keep how to separate the Atma from the mixture or reflection of Atma and Buddhi in Drashta Bhava. So yeah, it's the same thing. There's no need to separate. You're asking, should the full Akasha, does it need to be separated from the room space? Isn't there a way to separate it? There's no need to separate it. They are not separate. They are all one and the same. So yeah, it's a matter of understanding. If you continue to believe that, if you continue to feel that I am enclosed, then you have not understood. Then how to understand? Keep learning. Keep thinking about it. And be less, and do a lot of prayers to Ishvara. Ishvara will make your mind a little bit more amenable for understanding. This is what needs to happen. There's no other separation per se that you are asking about. So anyway, so that's what it is. Shantikumar, forgetfulness, is it the Maya and also the shortfall in Sadhana Chatushtaya? So it should not be taken as a problem per se. It comes. You will see that just refining your own thinking and just removing the raga dvesha from your mind. Yes, so in that sense, the sadhana chatushtaya is useful. So raga dvesha means that you're right, the understanding that my consciousness is present in all thoughts is something that I have to look at in the beginning because I'm not used to seeing that presence. But if my thoughts are full of intense likes and dislikes, it's even harder to see that. You see what I'm saying? You can see it, but it is harder if you are under the grips of likes and dislikes. So it just means that gradually you are less caught up in the daily things. Let it go. Let it go. We'll talk about this. It's a very beautiful subject in Rudram called Vairagya. So there, Swami Maheshanji makes a statement. It's just a great statement. He says that until you have Vairagya. So Vairagya, what does Vairagya mean? Vairagya means not being caught up in the thought of the moment. Oh, that person insulted me. I don't know why that person insulted me. What have I done to that person? I tell you, I just had a recent experience which made me feel good about myself, honestly. It was interesting. So, my two sons who are now grown up and we have always been very fond of going to the baseball games with the San Francisco Giants. And over the years, when they were young, I would take them to the games, and even to this day, we share a camaraderie. We talk about baseball. Oh my God, they played a wonderful job, or they blew this game. So we text it, not that often, but we do. And now our granddaughters are growing up. So the other day, we were talking, maybe we should take Sienna. The older one, Arya, was very busy with her homework at high school. So she says, I'd love to come, but I've just got too much homework. So the younger one, who's a freshman at college, at high school, she says, I'll come. So it was my two sons, my granddaughter, and myself. And we got some very good seats. So beautiful. It turns out that in the game, there were a couple of undisciplined young kids with equally undisciplined parents who just let them go havoc. They were moving around and throwing bottles and disturbing and so on. So my son turned to me and he says, I think we should go and speak to the parents and tell them this is really unacceptable behavior. They're really blocking our view in many times. And in the old days, I probably would have agreed with them that, they should not be doing this. And you just politely ask, you always have a danger of somebody just blowing up on you. But you can say that, can you please ask your children to sit down? For some reason, it didn't bother me. And I was enjoying my own refined experience. And my son turned to me 3 or 4 times. He says, Dad, don't you think we should do that? I said, no. It's only a few innings left. Let them enjoy. And so this is what is called Vairagya. They are there having fun and so on and so forth. And let me just concentrate on the game itself. And after a while, really, their presence was not really a distraction to me. It just was there from the very beginning. And then you just have to manage your own mind. We'll talk much more about that. And your mind starts to have a reaction, and you have to tell your mind, don't have a reaction. It's okay. It's okay. Let people enjoy what they're doing. And if I was a kid, I probably would be also doing the same thing. It's all right. It's not a big deal. Your mind says, okay, all right, thank you. That's what happened to me. It's called Vairagya. So going back to it, Swami Maheshanji says, you cannot have Atma Vidya without Vairagya. So, you're talking about this, the wisdom that we spoke of, not just information, but wisdom. You cannot have self-wisdom until you have vairagya. And he made it such a beautiful, he gave a good example. He says, it is just like saying that the sun has risen, but there is no light. What an example. Wow. If the sun of Atma Vidya rises, vairagya is natural. Your distraction about the world is not needed. It will happen automatically. And inversely, if the vairagya hasn't taken place, that means you don't understand yourself. You don't appreciate the mahima of the self. So the likes and dislikes are a dead giveaway that I am far from really understanding the self. And the first level is that the intense likes and dislikes have to be neutralized, and then ordinary thoughts will succumb. This is the stage that we have to go through. Anyway, so a kind of response, Shanti Kumar, about the shortfall in sadhana chatushtaya or forgetfulness. All those things are good, but really it's this kind of a vairagya that one has to think about. All right, it is already 9:30, and I appreciate your presence and look forward to seeing you next week. Om.